Hi, I'm Christine. This is my channel, Christine Sews a Lot. Welcome to Friday Sews. What I'm wearing today is the Wilder Gown top by Friday Pattern Company. When I first made this up, I used this fabric because I wasn't crazy about it to do the practice version. And I was on the fence as to how much I would actually wear this, though I love the fit because I thought it looked a little bit clownish due to the pattern of all the dots going on, the lemons and the circles, but I kind of like it. I think it's my love for the pattern more than the actual outcome of this garment, but it's also light and comfortable. So that's a win for me. Today, I'm going to issue you a little challenge. For those who know me in real life, I love a game. I just love to play. I love to play games. So when I was thinking about topics, I thought how I might gamify it. So bear with me. I wanted to talk about some of the top tools that we in the sewing community have taken everyday objects and co-opt them for our sewing life. So to make it a game, I've got my favorite shopping bag here, and I am going to time myself. I'm going to make a mad dash to my sewing room, and I'm going to give myself 2 minutes to look around my sewing room, look around the cutting table, and to pick out as many ordinary household objects as I can find in that 2-minute time, put them in my bag, and run back here and show you what I found. Show you what everyday household items I have turned into sewing tools. So ready, set, go. Okay, I am back, and I'm glad I chose my sturdiest bag for this trip. So in this bag, I have the random household items that I use in my sewing room, and I'm going to pick them out of random order because that's how they're stashed in the bag. So first up, these are Crayola washable markers. I don't use them on everything, but I have found, tried and true, that on most fabrics, always test them, this will wash out pretty easily. You can buy a whole big packet of various colors for less than the cost of some of those blue markers. So that's my first item, and they're in an old mustard jar, some delicious German mustard. Next up, this is a container that I was going to put in the recycle bin. It had chewing gum in it, but I realized it would be perfect for putting the rotary blades in. So I took the label off, made myself a new label that said blades, and then when I fill this up, this will give me a safe way of disposing razor blades. So that's item number 2. Item number 3, Elmer's white school glue. This washes out. You put a little bit of glue down, press down your seam or your zipper tape, and you can press a hot iron on to set it, and it'll hold it still while you sew. When I teach beginner sewing classes at our church, I use this. This is a lot more cost effective than to use the Dritz wash away tape for inserting zippers. So, Elmer's school glue, another co-op. This is it's actually a cute little heart-shaped paper hole thing, and no longer resides in my desk. I use this if I want to punch a hole at a pattern marking, and that comes in super handy. probably seen these in my videos. So I have co-opted a food container, and I did specifically purchase this, but this is an ordinary household item. These are galvanized steel washers. They're pretty heavy, and I've got them in various sizes, and this is what I use for pattern weights. I've also been known to use whatever's handy to weigh down a pattern. Painter's tape. I've shown you this before as well, for marking on the sewing machine the seam allowance. I put a piece of tape across the stitch plate so I know where my seam allowance is. I took these off my cutting table. These are just highlighters. If you're using a multi-size pattern and you're going to cut the pattern out, or a multi-size pattern that you want to save because you want to do different sizes, you can highlight the size that you're wanting to cut out or trace, and it makes it much easier, especially on those sections of the pattern where it seems like everything is bunched up and it's hard to tell where your line continues. If you highlight it, it makes it much easier when you're either cutting or tracing. And on the pen theme, friction pens. I use this a lot in bag making in particular, and I used it a ton when I was making masks. You can write right on the fabric, and the heat of a hot iron will take the ink out. Now that comes with a warning. The mark can reappear, and it might reappear, like if I do it in blue, it might reappear as white or another color. That's just an example when the fabric gets cold. I have not had a problem with that, but I would never use this on really expensive fabric on the right side of the fabric. I would use it in the seam allowance and on the back. But I use this a ton in bag making. That's why I have such a large packet. I like the different colors. Same for the Crayola markers. Depending on what color fabric you're using, you're going to want a pen that will show up well. Goes down there. More utensils, more writing utensils. I love to use colored pencils when I'm tracing out a pattern. It is prettier. It'll show up better depending on which color you use. I find that the pencil lead, especially if you're using a decent brand of color pencils, will trace smoother, so it goes a little quicker, and you can use it to designate sizes. So I recently traced out pajama patterns for 3 of my grandsons. So I needed a size 2, I needed a size 5, and I needed a size 8, and I just used a different color for each one so that I wouldn't get them mixed up. Especially the sizes that are close together. And this may look like a magnetic pen holder. This is my strongest magnetic dish that I have, and it was a giveaway at a conference, McLaren Young International. I'm not sure, they're probably some insurance firm or financial firm, but when I saw this, I didn't pick it up for the paper clips on my desk. I thought that'd be perfect for my pens. Pretty impressive. I have no loose pins in the shopping bag from running back and forth to the sewing room, and it works really, really well. So this is my favorite pen dish, and that was from an office giveaway type thing. Next in here, my tea tin. I love my tea. These are some duckbill pins, hair pens. I honestly bought these for sewing purpose. These are super for clipping your pattern to your fabric. So sometimes I'll use these and clip along the fold, which holds the pattern nice and steady, and then I stick my pattern weights down. And also, after I cut out my pattern pieces, I like to leave the pattern pieces clipped to the fabric, and these work great. And again, for bag making, if you've got a layer of foam and a layer of some type of stabilizer and then the fabric, these work great. Those are just some duckbill pins that I bought on Amazon, and the T10 just makes me happy. I like the color of it. And what else do we have in here? I think I only have three more items. Dig down in here, pull them up. This was a makeup brush that came free with the purchase, and I think it's a little too loose. I wouldn't use it as a brow brush, but it is way better than any of the brushes that came with my sewing machines. So I use this to clean out my sewing machines. It didn't cost me anything, and it's great. Never used it on makeup, so it's very, well, it was clean before I stuck it all in my machine, but makeup brush. I've shown this in a previous video. This is my hem guide that I made from a file folder. And I forgot to mention that I got this idea from Vanessa of the Crafty Gemini, and I'll link her information below. But I think I've been using this for about 5 years, and it works great. Again, this was an ordinary household item. I actually used an old file, and now it looks really old, but that's a great tool. And the last item I saved for last because, hey, it was on the bottom, but also this is a great tip. This is a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and this is fantastic for cleaning the bottom of your iron. You don't need to spend a lot of money on those expensive iron cleaners. You don't need to risk scratching your iron and ruining the sole plate of the iron. This works fantastic. I got this tip from my friend who owns a sewing shop. So Debbie Hillstead, this is your tip, and it is great. It's inexpensive, it's an everyday item, and this is what I use on my iron. So that's what I had. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think 12. I think I had 12 items in my 2-minute dash. Okay, now it's your turn. Take 2 minutes, find out how many ordinary household items you have co-opted for your sewing life. Let us know below how many items you found and what you found. Ready, set, go.